What was your first experience on making money in your life? The first job I ever had, I was washing dishes, and I absolutely hated it.
Take that off. You're scaring the customers away.
I had no idea how to handle an interview or nothing. I go sit in front of a person, and I used to think an interview was...
The possibilities are endless, but regardless of the possibilities being endless, it all starts with the first... Welcome back to Dream Life Podcast, everybody. My name is Steve Buck, and I'm your host. I have my co-host,
Gabie.
And we also have our contributor back with us again,
Corey Robertson.
Glad you guys could join me today. Before we get going, just want to do a little bit of housekeeping work. People who are interested in sending in questions, right at the bottom of our screen is the link for you to send in questions that you might have. We are going to be organizing a live stream where we answer questions that have been submitted through our link for our email. We're going to be talking live to different people on the podcast. And so we'll tell you more about that as we get closer to scheduling that. And partners, anybody who wants to partner with us, our mission here at Dream Life Podcast is to help young African-American men get the tools and the foundation that they need to live the American dream. In order to do that, we are going to be building out some knowledge centers across the United States of America. We are going to need resources. We're going to need, hardware, software, laptops, space to conduct our
Smart people.
We're going to need lots of smart people to help teach these young men. So whatever arena of help that you feel that you can be to the Dream Life Podcast, we welcome any and all help that we can possibly get. So thank you for sending in items that you can help out with. That being said, we're going to get into episode number 7. What are the realistic possibilities? So I think it's important, Gabie and Corey, that all these young men understand that living the American dream, it's a process. We've been talking about building the foundation for that process, which is knowledge. But I think it's very important for us to bring it home. And, that's what Johnny Cash's recording producer said to Johnny Cash when he said, bring it home. Because Johnny Cash was, when he went into his original recording debut, he was singing, gospel songs and just a bunch of old traditional stuff that was popular at that time. So the music producer said to him, Johnny, you think people are really going to buy that same old gospel tune that everybody's singing? Or do you have a song that can bring it home? And so Johnny Cash said to him, I've got a song that'll bring it home. He started singing, I Hear the Train A-Comin'. And I don't know if you guys know that song, but it's a great Johnny Cash song. And Johnny Cash, he brought it home with one of his real songs that came from his real heart that he really believed in. And that's the difference between what made Johnny Cash successful, okay, versus just being just another singer singing, gospel tunes, that were part of that era. And so this music producer, he sparked something in Johnny Cash to dig deep in his soul and say, all right, how am I going to bring this home? If I'm going to be successful, if I'm going to be in the music industry, I need to sing about something that's real, that I care about, that people are going to be able to know and understand that I'm for real. I think we need to do the same thing on Dream Life Podcast, is that we need to bring it home for these young men, okay? And we have to make it tangible so they can say, okay, I know what the first step is, okay? The first step is basically saying that I can do this and saying to myself, I will do this. And now it's about taking the step-by-step process of actually performing tasks that are going to lead to the success of their journey into the workforce, the arena of commerce, and they're going to be able to train themselves to be able to do something to offer somebody else. Now, I want to talk for a minute just about, what are the possibilities? Corey, right now, why don't you just let our listeners know what you're doing right now, okay, in that first step towards gaining that experience that you're gaining right now where you're working?
Well, right now, I run 2 businesses of my, entrepreneur businesses of my own. I work in a restaurant. I have a clothing line. I'm starting a food truck. This is my clothing line right here that I got on right now. It's called El Sucio. Then I have another clothing line that we just started. It's called Zakaya La Flamme. It's another clothing line we just started. And I have a food truck that we're working on right now. It's called Choppy Cheese.
Choppy Cheese.
Selling chopped cheese sandwiches. That's very familiar in New York. I'm going to be selling chopped chicken, some Philly steak. I'm selling it, and I'm going to be doing like some sausages or whatever. Other than that, I'm working every day, busting my behind in the restaurant.
Let's just stop there for a minute. Let's talk about a restaurant. The first job I ever had was in a restaurant, and I was washing.
Wow.
I was washing dishes.
Okay.
And I absolutely hated it. It was, oh my God, it was brutal. First of all, the guy I was working for was German, right? And his food was terrible, and I couldn't even figure out why people even came to this restaurant. So anyways, I'm washing dishes, and at the time there was this big stainless steel shroud thing that would go up. You'd load all the dishes, into this commercial, dishwasher. You bring the shroud down, and this what was supposed to be hot water, because you wash dishes with hot water. So I start washing dishes, and the first load of dishes that I do, it gets done, and they look horrible. I mean, there's food stuck to the dishes.
I know.
So,
trust me, I know.
So, and I noticed that there was cold water. I said to my boss, the owner, I said, I don't think that this dishwasher is working properly, because I said there's no hot water to it. So he said, just shut up and just do the dishes. So I had to shut up, do the dishes, right? And so, but I'm a very finicky person when it comes to cleanliness. If I'm eating at a restaurant or drinking out of a glass at a restaurant,
right.
I want it to be clean. What he allowed me to do was he allowed me to use hot water to pre-rinse all the dishes before they went in the dishwasher. So at least, because he didn't want to spend the money on hot water for washing the dishes, at least he was allowing me to rinse off the really bad dishes before they, went in there. So I worked at this restaurant. I don't know. It must have been it was probably about maybe 5 or 6 months. And after about 5 or 6 months, we got into the summertime, and I had the benefit of going to work for my father in the construction field, learning how to do carpentry work, operating engineer work, all the different construction trades. But the one thing that helped me learn is that pretty much everybody starts at the bottom. We all have to be willing. We said the journey of 1,000 miles starts with that first step. We all have to be willing to take the nastiest, dirtiest, ugly jobs. Now, what's that guy's name that does dirtiest jobs? Mike Rowe. Now he's a TV personality. Okay. This guy, when he does his show, he doesn't sit back and just, talk about these dirty jobs that these people are doing. Mike Rowe sits back and he actually engages and works with these people who are doing these nastiest, smelliest, ugliest jobs. And he's standing right by them side by side doing that job. Now, how much respect do you think that Mike Rowe has from those people who are doing America's dirtiest jobs?
It'd be as much as respect they got for their boss.
Well,
their boss work.
Well, their boss isn't doing the
all
dirty
bosses
job.
don't do the dirty work, but some do.
Well, a lot of bosses have started at the bottom. Most of them have started at the bottom. It's very rare that somebody starts mid-level or up. Okay, that does happen from time to time, but most people have had to work a really lousy job. Okay, America's dirtiest jobs. So the first message I think that we need to send to these young men is this idea that you have to be willing to do the ugliest, meanest, lousiest, smelliest, horrible jobs in order to get your foot in the door, in order to create a starting point. The dirtiest, nastiest job I ever saw a guy do, there was a guy that I met who he repaired sanitary pipes in big cities.
Yikes.
Right? Like New York. And literally what this guy would have to do, he would have to put on a bodysuit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Walk through the sewage that would be up to his waist.
So he had a crappy job for real.
Bro.
This is literally piss and flowing down from everybody in the city, and he's standing up to his waist, right? Man. And he's repairing the pipes that flowing down. Okay, now it doesn't get any worse than that, right? But you know what? That guy got paid $150 an hour, to do that job.
Okay,
wear nose plugs.
So and that's what he said. He said I got
nose plugs.
He said I got really good nose plugs. Okay, but he said to me, it's worth it.
$150 an hour,
right?
Yeah,
$150.
Come on, man, $150 an hour,
he
man.
He said I will stand in your $150.
Straight up,
yeah. All right.
$150 an hour. I'm getting them nose plugs and all that.
So we all have to be willing to start in the worst jobs. Now, you don't have to live there for the rest of your life, but whatever starting point it is that you need to start at, you got to be willing to do whatever it takes.
That's a fact.
To get things started.
Yeah, they got to know life is a totem pole. You got to work your way up.
That's right.
That's
as long as you got that work ethic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Gotta have that.
You got that work. You got that work ethic to go make that money.
Well, that's where it starts. It starts with a work ethic. You have to go in knowing that in order for somebody to be willing to pay you more money, you have to be able to work better, smarter, and faster than everybody else. That's just the way the world works. It's not because anybody's discriminating against anybody else, but they're looking at what you can produce and what they can turn around and they can sell for their product and make a better margin on their product. If you're making widgets and you're selling widgets, you want to make that widget as cheap as you possibly can.
Widget master.
I don't know if you guys ever watched Shark Tank?
Yep.
Before?
Damon and all them.
So Shark Tank, I think, is a fantastic show for anybody at all who has the vision of wanting to live the American dream. Because what they teach you and what they demonstrate on that show is all of the reasoning behind whether or not your business or your product can be or even should be successful. Okay. And so I appreciate it from the perspective that in the world that I work in, we build buildings, we build apartments, and we lease the apartments out. That's our product. Our product is building buildings and offering apartments for people to lease out and to live in. And you have costs, you have margins that you're working on. But at the end of the day, it's just that, do you have a product that somebody else is willing to pay the same or more for, that does the same thing or better than the next product or the next thing, down the street. So the possibilities, they're endless. They're literally endless. The number of possibilities that we have to work at creating our own living of the American dream. And the living of the American dream for every person is going to be a little bit different. Okay. Myself, I came from an entrepreneurial business-minded environment. My wife came from the exact opposite. Your parents went to work. They worked for somebody else. They were guaranteed that every week they were going to work 40 hours a week. And if they worked 40 hours a week, they were going to have a set paycheck. And they always lived in that world of comfort where you knew exactly how much money that you were going to make. And you didn't have to negotiate it every week. All you had to do is you had to show up for 40 hours a week. If you showed up for 40 hours a week and you did that job, you're going to get X amount of dollars. The world I came from is that, well, what if I want to work 60 hours a week?
Yeah, right.
Or what if I want to work 80 hours a week?
Right.
I want to give myself the opportunity to make more than the status quo.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
So living the American dream, you may be that person who just wants that really good paying job. You work, 8 to 4:30, whatever the hours are.
401k and all that.
Right. You got a 401k. That may be living the American dream for certain people.
Yeah.
And we're not here to define for anybody what your American dream means or what it looks like.
Right.
All we simply want to do is we simply want to help you get there. And we want to give you the foundation, the knowledge, and tell you what tasks that you need to get there. So let's talk about the tasks. Corey, what was your first job? Now, and when I say job, it doesn't mean you had to work for anybody, but what was your first experience on making money in your life?
Car wash. I was young, real young. I was real young. They used to let me come to the car wash and wash cars. They used to let, I was young. They let me do whatever. But that was my first experience of getting some money in my pocket.
Right.
Feeling that I was doing something.
Did you approach them and say, hey, I want to make some money, or how did it happen?
I lived up the block, and I used to always come through the car wash, and I always was playing around with the cars, and one day they just told me to come over there and help them out.
Those actions that you took by always going through the car wash and
because I love cars. I love cars. I love cars, and I love the smell of cars. The car wash, and I used to love the smell of it and just see the stuff in the car wash. So I always went over there.
But did you demonstrate interest that you wanted to work there, or
it was just my first shot? I was too young to really know. But I felt I was working. That gave me the ethic to want to do something.
Well, like for instance, the first job that I had with the dishwashing. Okay. There's a guy that we wrestled together in middle school. As we were going into high school, at the time, you had to be 15 years old to be able to work in a restaurant kitchen. And so this guy that I worked with, he said he worked at this German restaurant, in the kitchen. I told him that, I was hoping to make some extra money during the winter, just because, there's nothing else to do in the winter. So he said, hey, just come on over, fill out an application. Right. And that's exactly what I had to do. So that's the point that I'm trying to make is the fact that you have to take some initiative, whether it's putting together a resume or if you don't have a resume, just putting in an application, because there are literally millions of businesses looking for people just to work. No, it's not going to be, you're not going to start out as a CEO, but, they need people to wash the dishes, do food prep. If it's a restaurant, if it's a sanitation company, they might need the guy to grab the garbage cans and, throw the garbage in the truck. You have to start somewhere. And so your first task is going to be actually going and either talking to somebody about getting a job or filling out an application. And I know from running our business that I've had people come in and the first thing that I ask them to do is fill out an application.
Right.
And I've literally had several people come into my office and they did not know enough of the English language
to fill out the application.
To even fill out an application. Okay. So part and parcel to what we're talking about is that a lot of these young African-American men, they may not even know or have the ability to even fill out an application. But if you give somebody that basic skill set and that basic knowledge, at least that's one step closer that it takes them to be able to go and look at a job.
Well, what happened with me? Well, I started off as a newspaper boy. Did newspapers a little, This was before
delivering newspapers.
I wasn't old enough to do summer youth job at that point, so I did start working summer youth, and that was in Buffalo, New York, 16, something like that. It was a summer job. You work for a couple weeks, you get paid, but I didn't know anything about applications and none of that until somebody sat me and I say, okay, what do you like to do? This is what you got to do. You have no experience. So you just got to put down what you know how to do, but it got to be worded a certain way. So until someone showed me that, I had no idea how to handle an interview or nothing. I go sit in front of a person and I used to think an interview was you ask me everything you need to know and I answer it. But now once I learned what people want to hear, what employers want to hear, what people want to see, then I was like, I'm here to work, but also I want to know if I want to work for you. So I learned that in the interview, it's both of us asking questions.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of me just going in and feeling scared, nervous, like, am I going to answer the question right? Nah, but if you sit up and you show, like you said, you have a business.
Right.
If I come sit and interview with you at your business and you just ask me about my experience, that's not covering the side of me knowing if I want to work with you or not. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have
oh,
to
yeah.
ask you, how long you been doing this?
Yeah.
I mean, has it been this, that, and next, and all that other stuff for me to know? Okay, well, I want to work with this guy because he ain't never give up. I want to go sit and talk to a boss and be, well, I did this, and then 3 years ago I was doing.
Well, right.
It's like, who do you follow?
Right, an interview is really it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. You're interviewing the company that you're going to work for just as
Right.
much as their interview.
I used to be scared when I go to interviews because I didn't know that I had a say in, what was going on. Like you say, one of our points is to make a decision. You can make a decision on who you work with by knowing what you want to do. If you know what you want to do.
And there you have it. You didn't know. Okay, and again, we're talking about the knowledge. You have to have you have to know. The more you know, the more powerful that you can be in your overall effectiveness, as a person. So again, the typical first step or task that you have to do is you have to know how to fill out an application, how to interact in an interview. And when you do show up for that interview, I like what you said earlier, pull your pants up.
Yeah.
Okay? Because like when Corral would come over and work at the car wash,
Gotta always tell him to pull his pants.
I don't. Pull up your pants. I said, these ladies don't want to see your ass. Right? So pull up your pants, put your belt up, tighten your belt up, okay, and look presentable. All right? And that goes with everything else. Is that
He's right, though.
Yeah, right.
when you show up and you're looking for a job,
Right.
show up looking like you actually want a job and that you're presentable. Present yourself in as professional way as you can make yourself look. The bottom line is the possibilities are endless. Okay. But regardless of the possibilities being endless, it all starts with the first step.
Right.
Okay. Take the first step, take the second step, the third step, and then all the steps. Every step that you take is going to get easier and easier.
You should be getting better.
Right, and you get better at it. But we got to give them the knowledge, give them the foundation that they need.
Right.
I was laughing because I remember when we used to work at the car wash. When I was working with Steve at the car wash.
Right.
I used to just want to come looking like I'm working. You know what I mean?
Right.
So one day I had on this. I used to be wearing this big thing to work. He pulled me to the side like, you gotta take that off. You're scaring the customers away. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to be warm. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you have to look presentable.
Right.
When you at work.
Right.
You gotta be looking presentable.
Right, because, whatever business that you're working at, people are going to respond to how you look and how you present yourself. That's the bottom line. So I think we can wrap it up there. One last thing, again, I'm just, anybody who wants to partner or ask questions, right at the bottom of our screen, that's how you can get a hold of us. And so hopefully you will join us for episode 8 coming up very soon. And thanks for listening.